but I wanted you guys' opinion on it and perception on it. Maybe there was something that I hadn't seen, something that I hadn't considered, some factor or facet that I had not worked into what I believe that I'm seeing. But on slightly differing, hopefully happier moments, and a subject near and dear to my heart, because I really, really do, and I can't say this often enough nor as vociferously enough as I feel, I am enamored with the time that we have spent and look forward to the time that lies ahead of us. I'm not sure if you guys took a look at some of this, the planned session and episode titles, but I already have season 12 mapped out in the most general terms. I also have our next season's soundtrack already ready to go. So yeah, I am really appreciative of all the time that we shared, and really, really do look forward to what comes next. And I appreciate everything that we've done. And I want to say thank you as directly as possible, because I really do. This has been a very valuable evening for me. It has brought a lot of things that I thought that I had lost, i.e. tabletop play and getting around a table, though virtual, with people who have intelligence and skill and are able to immerse themselves. And without further ado, this is officially Soup City Sins, Season 11, Epilogue. All things eat. We open on a cool Chicago fall evening. We have 3 kindred standing outside the property line of a suburban Arlington Heights home. The signs of life and children and living hours across the yard, not quite as messily as the last time they've arrived here. The formerly electrically charged fence, no longer electrically charged. The former hounds, fortified and strengthened with kindred fatigue. Their home still in the corner of the yard, large and impressive, but empty. The lights dimmed, barely visible through the windows of the home. The street, like all suburban streets at this hour of the evening, far quieter than even the most pristine and hallowed of graveyards. The sounds of traffic in the distance echoing with their aural barrage, because sound bounces and ricochets and carries and travels in its own path, making distances seem greater or less than they actually are. The slight susurrous whisper of the wind through the trees, and inside the home, untold number of horrors awaiting. Sophia had already shifted her gaze to peer into the near abutting shadowlands and the spirits and souls of those long departed or never having lived, not quite as bountiful as they once were, but still loitering and lingering, still watchful of the home itself. Lucio, having shifted his gaze and his attention into that supernal realm of heightened acuity and attitude, his attention focused on the least stir and the most annoying aspect of moments such as this, while the kindred bodies that they inhabit are in fact dead, and while they are not actually awash in the adrenaline and the other stress chemicals that the body produces in times of tension such as this, the mental memory of such things and the believed effect are still prevalent. So each of the kindred, having been in similar situations of stress and broaching the unknown, sit awash in the memory of those chemicals, in the memory of that tremor that starts in the fingers when the adrenaline ratchets up to its near apex, preparing one for either fight or flight. And as ever, Hestia's small frame between Lucio and Sophia, with Silvio bringing up the rear, his firearm already cleared of its holster, his gaze constantly flicking towards this former sniper roost, little more than a quarter of a mile from where you guys stand, the church at the end of the lane, at the mouth of the cul-de-sac, close enough to get a full view of the street and everyone on it. That battle memory, that memory of being fired upon, still fresh in his mind. He moves slowly, but directly, putting his body more in line with the church and between Sophia and any angle of fire. I don't know about you guys, but I feel a little exposed. Are we going in, or are we just gonna stay here and keep looking at it?
I believe the plan was for us to go in, no?
That's the idea.
He did seem rather cross about his fence. Let us show him what we can do to his recreation room.
Well, my question is, do we all go in Bum's restaurant door, or get him from different sides?
Which way would he expect us to go?
I mean, we went to the front door before, so he's probably not expecting us, because remember that whole ruse thing that we did? But probably all the main entrances. Storyteller, is there like a balcony or something somewhere?
It's not me per se, but you could potentially, if you were so athletically inclined, make your way up to the second story. Or if you're feeling bolder, and perhaps all the way up to the attic window, the round reticule-like window in the attic space, or the crawl space above the home.
Now, is the house still...
Yeah.
What was that, Hestia?
That wouldn't exactly be a problem for Hestia, because that's why I was looking for the spider earlier. And I'm willing to bet if I look again, there'd probably be one outside. But yeah, I can walk up walls, so.
And you were saying, Sophia?
Is the house still blasting my senses of all the feathers it's made out of, or?
Yes, that has not changed. All of the souls tied to that building is enough that if you know what you're looking for, you realize that this has been a created nexus for several differing spirits of value. One of the things that, if you would be so kind to go ahead and roll your wits plus oblivion for me, and ask you if you're looking for a spider, I need you to give me a intelligence plus animal kin. 2 successes will do. It is your DC. Oh, that was a little bit unexpected. A full-fledged success. There were moments during your studies with as much gallivanting around the globe, and as much gallivanting around southern Italy, and as much gallivanting around Venice, Vienna, and various other nexus points. Everyone believes they're under the common understanding that kindred don't have souls, that kindred had given up their options for an afterlife when dying and being frozen into the bodies they inhabit. That is both completely false and usually true. Completely false because you are living souls, like all beings. You were a living soul, and even in this undead state, this now deceased state, you are in fact a soul. Except for unlike others, unlike other entities, unlike other continued living beings, the vitae, the blood, is your life. It's one of the many reasons why the amaranth works the way that it does. The drinking down of the soul requires the drinking down of the entirety of a kindred's vitae. There's not much light in it left. There's not much ability to remain and enter into the next state of unliving, but it's still there. And if you are able to hold on to that drive for life, that need to survive, and your soul remains as whole as possible, there is a semblance of an afterlife for kindred. And those kindred who have managed to survive their unlives, their deaths, and enter into that other world, that shadowland, the things that connect them to this side of the veil vary, but the one thing that they all hold in common is that they radiate a higher level of energy, as if the fetter that ties them are somehow hotter, brighter, filled with more energy of that many decades or centuries of stolen time. And looking upon the house, you know, in that unbeating heart of yours, that this home has acted as the last place of any value to a multiplicity of kindred. You'd easily wager 15 or more kindred souls.
She will remark mostly under her breath, "Oh, I see now. Now it is clear."
And as if punctuating that newfound understanding, that remembrance of things and the powers that exist here, Hestia falls back onto her rump, having rummaged through the nearby bush at hand and expecting to find a nice spider's web. It's the perfect place. It's just out of sight. It's easy to get to. What was not expected is that the spider and the web that you found to be roughly the size of your fist, to be filled with a many-eyed bloodlust as you reach towards the web, trying to find its center and where it was spun from, for this to come crawling out. It's absolutely horrific. Its carapace looks to be made of human flesh. The hairs on its legs look exactly what one would expect on the floor of a barbershop anywhere in America. And its eyes, its many, many red-tinged eyes, hold a hint of amber and an all too human orbital socket around all of the eyes, as if something and someone had decided to pour life and kindred vitae into it. And it comes scuttling forward, its eyes looking from Lucio to Hestia to Sophia and Silvio, and its locking gazes with Hestia as it crawls closer and closer its hands. And yes, as you, despite your inclination to get as far from it as possible, peer at it and try to decide what species it once was, you realize that at the end of each of its legs are miniature human hands, fingers and thumb, over 8 legs as it crawls forward.
That's not normal. That is, oh no. Oh, that's not normal. What the fuck do I do with it? I don't want to catch it.
Kill it with fire.
She pulls her spell dagger and just like stabs it through the middle.
Would you, each of you, within arm's distance of Hestia, including you as well, Hestia, would you be so kind as to roll your resolve plus composure? Because the moment that your knife pierces through its skin-like carapace, there's a crunch, as if you're crunching into a nice, freshly purchased Kit Kat. And then the faintest, though very clear despite the slight breeze, human scream echoing from it.
Now, I had kind of assumed I was still in the car checking things out with my various eye filters there. But it's up to you. Do you want me to make this roll or?
Yeah, go ahead and make the roll. Let's see what Silvio gets, because he's technically would be within range as well. Let's see here.
What was it again? Resolve and
Composure.
Okay.
Okay, so he manages to keep his stomach from emptying and reacting. He looks down under their hooded eyes at its death. Sophia, you are able to maintain your composure as well without losing your gorge or responding as most would, hearing a human voice coming from something that doesn't have lungs. And Hestia, it is a fight because you, having had extensive years of study with the natural flora and fauna, know that is not, there's nothing impossible. Nature will always find a way, but this is clearly unnatural. This is clearly something else entirely. And if the scream was unnerving enough, the fact that your dagger, as you pull it away, is stained with clear-cut, iron-rich blood. Not ichor.
Her eyebrow is definitely in her hairline. She's like, what? Okay, no, this guy, ooh, he needs his ass whooped. That is all there is to it. This is not okay.
What the fuck is that thing?
Some sort of flesh-crafted golem spider fucking, I don't know. It's not natural, but that's what the fuck it is.
I do not know that I would say that it is his doing. This entire place is twisted by, I believe, his actions. They have attached many negative passers to what it is he does.
She is going to collect the body and put it in a slightly bigger specimen jar than she meant for the spell, and just stick it in a pocket with it tightly sealed so she can examine it later. But I don't know how that affects what she was trying to do, which is get the spider for her spell so she can climb up the walls.
Only one way to find out. How brave is Hestia in regards to experimentation?
She takes the vial of her blood and drips some of it, the blood off of the knife into the vial, shakes it up and tosses it back just to see what the fuck happens.
Oh. Oh. All right. Well, you all watch as Hestia does the unthinkable. She samples the blood. And as far as Hestia remembers, has Hestia ever sampled kindred vitae from the source while it was still relatively cool and warm and unliving?
She did it with the dogs, but those were supposedly ghouls.
Didn't she drink my blood like a week ago in game?
Yeah, that one. And she wouldn't quite remember all of it because she was topered at the time, but she's coming out of it. She remembers some of it.
Kindred vitae has a sweetness that is almost indescribable. It is the most fructose-laden sweetness. It's mellow, but it's strong and cloying enough that you know that taste, from the tingle of the tip of the tongue to the feel of it coating your throat. That is kindred vitae. That is, without having the experience with where that sort of vitae comes from, it's more than you've tasted within blood, and less, just a little bit less than what you tasted from Lucio. But it is clearly warm, as if it was from a living human host. It is, in the blink of an eye, you see yourself, or more specifically, a arachnid version of yourself, weaving a web for your 1,000 egg sacs, your 1,000 potential children, and watching as they move from the dark brown, the natural color of your particular type of spider, to a lighter, tannish, human skin, almost pink. And where the end of their legs become these flat pads, and from flat pads to hands, and looking all the more and more like the humans that are found about you, those that ruin your webs, step on your children, and do all sorts of things to attack you as a species. And then you see yourself again as a spider. Your hands are in place. Many of your legs, each having a hand of its own. You are able to witness the world around you, and the constant drips and drops that you all have been feeding on, the nectar that has provided for your colony for years, slowing down. But it's too late. You all are producing your own nectar at this point. Then more of your children are scooped up and flown away on the winds. They make their webs and take flight. And they filter all over the world, your world, which you as a human, you as Hestia, realize your world is the entirety of this block. And you, as you are the spider, realizes that this world of yours is becoming more popular, more and more. Each one of you are creating your own nectar, creating your own sacs of thousands of eggs. And they're flying and floating all over the neighborhood. And you're finding places in dormers and drain pipes and under vehicles, under cars, in bushes, underneath porches. This is the Mecca. This is the holy site. This bush, this home, this land is yours. And while all of those images are bombarding Hestia, and her eyes have rolled back into her head, and taken on a black, inky-like look. Not as if it's oblivion, but as if her eyes have turned into, well, insectoid versions of themselves. The little red veins of blood flow that are naturally occurring in human and kindred pupils have spread out to fractalize her eyes. Luckily, in doing so, all of the blood welled up like a bruise and caused her eyes to go black as they split and dissect and bisect into various multiplicity. First 10, then 20, then 30, then 100 different little fractalized eyes. And while that's happening, and Hestia isn't actually there, you all have the pleasure of watching this befall.
So Viva will just watch her with interest. This is something new.
I just need to clarify. When you said, like, fractaling eyes, like, basically spider, like, kaleidoscope eyes, was that figurative, or are we literally seeing that in her eyes right now?
You are literally seeing that happen in her eyes.
That's definitely gonna flip on Lucio's panic button. And he's immediately going to, like, try and get down in front of Hestia and just, like, shake her on the shoulders and try and get her to wake up. Hestia, wake up! It's us! Whatever the hell's happening, fight it!
She does not always do this?
No!
And just as you're getting to the source, just as you're getting to understand why you exist, how you exist, what the make of the land is, which colony is at war, which other colony, the humans are coming for you. First the shoes, then the rolled up papers, then there's bullets flying towards you, hot pieces of lead almost as big as you are, and just as you are dodging into cover, a bullet tears through your flesh, opening you up. And as you fade, you see and feel them coming. Hundreds of pincers to make use of what little bit of nectar is in your blood. Your extended family by several generations, your cousins and those you've warred with, more members of you sink their pincers into you and drink your nectar and drain you. And as you are taken from this existence, you open your eyes to Lucio shaking you. It takes a little bit because you haven't been drunk in a very long time. You haven't been inebriated in a very long time. Outside of the odd occasional bloodlust and the joy that comes from drinking, you have not been altered. But it takes everything you can do to focus on him, because there's so many of him, so many after images of him. You never realize how often he doesn't shave.
Stop the world, I want to get off. Stop sweating more.
Yes? What the hell happened? Why are your eyes all weird like this?
What's supposed to happen when I do that, normally with a regular spider, is it's supposed to give me the ability to cling to surfaces like spiders do. I think something went wrong because that was not a natural spider. Oh God, so many eyes. There's so many of you. That is so weird. She closes her eyes because it's too much. It's too much fucking stimulation.
I don't know how to fix this. Sophia, do you know how to fix this?
It'll wear off. It wears off.
It is all very fascinating because you're probably not aware, but the blood has the ability to evolve over time. It has been doing so for millennia. It is fairly documented. Usually does not happen this fast. You say this is the first time that this has happened to her?
That I've seen.
Well, clearly the source of the blood was unnatural. We know that. So there may be some witchcraft at play. I am not certain how to proceed because I am not certain what is causing this.
Well,
Would you
like
be
I
so
said,
kind, would both Hestia and Sophia be so kind as to roll their intelligence plus a cult?
I assume my. Go ahead.
I was just saying, Hestia, you get a +1 because of your understanding of science, your flora, your fauna, your science degree. But yeah, you were saying, Sophia?
I assume my specialty in vampires is not applicable here.
Oh, you have a specialty in vampires. Yes. Yes, it does apply.
God damn.
He has obtained omniscience.
Very much so. As you begin speaking about how the blood has evolved from the very beginning, it's also evolved based on which entity it's been involved with. How the Lasombra have different abilities than the Hakata, and how the Venture have different abilities, and how their ghouls and the legends of the Revenant families, how it took centuries and several differing generations for the blood to coalesce. And Hestia, well, if the blood has been evolving over time, what would cause it to step forward is typically another generation. You know that spiders in this particular area, the standard wood spider typically lives no more than a few months, up to a year. And if redwood has been careless from the very beginning, that's 10 years or 10 generations of these wood spiders being exposed to kindred vitae. Without meaning to, both you and Sophia come to the same conclusion. This redwood gentleman, this person you are here to see, has inadvertently created a revenant spider line, able to produce its own kindred vitae, able to evolve generation over generation for the last minimum 10 generations of spiders.
and if they're warring with each other and feeding on each other, it's like diablerie on a much tinier but grander scale. So they're absorbing each other's powers, and it's really fucked up. It's really, really fucked up.
It is the natural state for predators. They are not a high intelligence like, say, we are, you know. So I would prefer, perhaps if you do not tell the Chancery, this is something perhaps you and I could explore and come to some revelations on.
I don't think I want them to know that I did this. So yeah, I'm not gonna tell them anything. But while I have this ability, I'm gonna try and do what I was originally attempting to do, just in case it still works. And she puts her hands on the side of the building to see if it is sticking.
It sticks. Oh, does it stick? It is a immediate adhesion. You are sure that if you were of a mind, you could probably climb the Sears Tower if you wanted. You could. You feel strangely powerful, exactly as all drunkards do, well in the midst of their cups. There is an infinite ability to you.
All right, it's working. We're going in, I guess. I'll see you on the other side, and she is going to use as much speed as she can manage, and up the building she goes.
You should be so kind as to roll dexterity athletics for me, please. See how quick and how skillful you do so. there's something inherently wrong. There's something inherently unsettling as you move toward the building and begin making your way up. Your arms move in their sockets in ways that you had not ever had the ability to do. So your joints are extraordinarily limber and bend in odd ways. It takes some bit of concentration. You realize that instead of forward and back, or in your crab-like walk that you've managed a multiplicity of instances before, that your hips bend backwards, your knees reverse onto themselves, and you are very much spider-like crawling up the building. The speed is ridiculous, but the fact that doing so didn't come at you wrenching or breaking your bones is horribly unsettling. And Lucio, here's the thing. You have heightened senses up, and you have seen Hestia crawl across ceilings before, the last time with the Dalton Disco. This is literally watching Hestia become a spider for a second, or a four-legged insect, all in the blink of an eye, and she skitters and scuttles up the side of the building. You can almost hear her toes inside her shoes, matching the skittering speed of her arms and legs as she makes her way up. This is the first time that's ever happened.
I think that spider did something to her.
Quite likely, yes. It is a very interesting specimen.
What exactly did you call it?
A revenant?
What is that? And does that explain what the fuck is going on with her limbs?
Perhaps. Also, perhaps now is not the time to get into a giant discussion about the conditions of the blood and the things it does.
Fair enough. We'll talk about that later after we... Oh god, I hope Hestia's gonna be okay.
Like with many things, generally when she burns through the blood, she should return to normal, but we will see.
What if she doesn't?
Well, if she does not, it is too late to do anything about it now.
Not comforting. That doesn't help.
Sophia just kind of shrugs.
As you all discussed, Silvio has, now that you guys are closer to the building and closer to the front door, he moves so that his body is the closest to the street behind you all. That was disgusting, but are we going in or what? I really do feel exposed.
Yes, let us go in. We cannot be any worse off than we are out here in the yard, for sure.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's another one of those things lying around, so in now.
Moving through the front door, the scent of gas is nowhere near as strong as it once was, but it is clear that the furnace is still on because the gas-lit chandelier is still on, though dimmed. Its light nowhere near as bright. Its glow from the flames above your head stretching nowhere near as far. The details of the hall are exactly the same, though there's a sullen silence to the home that shouldn't be. Before, when you all were here, standing in the doorway, Lucio, you immediately felt as if there were eyes on you. You immediately felt as if you were being watched, as if there was something waiting just out outside of your sight line, waiting. This time, that feeling of being watched isn't there. This time, the scent of gas, still present, not as strong, seems as if it is the flickering flame of a hearth, of a home left fallow. And with your heightened senses, you can hear the sounds of the furnace, a floor below you, as well as the creak and settling of the wood above your head.
I know it's a stretch, but does it sound like the same furnace I heard over the phone?
Yes.
Does heightened senses let me hear, like, someone's breathing or heartbeat?
If you were close enough.
Alright, Lucio draws his gun at the ready and is gonna start scoping out the first floor.
Now, are you attempting to split up, or you guys are going to go room by room? In the tactically more sound idea being is none of you all have ever been in this house before, so you're not sure where any of the rooms actually lead to together, or you're going to split up and try to cover more ground and the unknown spaces within.
Sophia, do you think it would be a good idea for Sylvia to stand guard at the door while we go together to scope out? So that way he doesn't try to escape through the front door?
I mean, perhaps, but should we encounter trouble without Silvio, I will not be much help.
All together then.
Yeah. Well, you lead the way, and I'll still pull up the rear. Is it me, or this house seem a little cold? And as he says that, upstairs, it takes several attempts to use your hands the way that they're meant to, instead of as the manner in which they have grown accustomed to, memories that are not yours, being subsumed into who and what you are. But in their doing, because of their extra nimbleness, because of the manner in which they had been used on the other beings that you have the memories of in this moment, you're able to pick the lock with your fingers, because the knuckle bones bend and work in both and a multiplicity of directions that they're not accustomed to. So you're able to squeeze and bend and reach down with an acuity that you have never experienced before. It is as if each of your digits, each of your joints are able to move in almost a full 360 degrees. If not for the stretching of your skin, you're sure that would be exactly the case, as you are able to bend and contort your fingers just inside the edges of the window, removing the security lock with the very tip of your nail and bending them back out and slide the window up. You find yourself in a bedroom. And not just any bedroom. There are still small pictures put up on the wall, and then stickers and crayon left. You know that it's the child's room, though the bed has been stripped. The bed has been broken as if someone took a scheduled 12-round heavyweight bout against the bed itself, as if in a peak or fit of rage, someone attacked the bed as if it was a living opponent and there was money on the line. The lamp that was on the small desk in the corner of the room knocked over, broken pieces of glass all over the table. If not for the gathered dust, you'd assume this was something that just happened. The ferocity of rage behind whatever did this is so palpable, you can almost taste it.
She's just gonna take like a couple seconds to really like look around and try not to disturb the dust or anything, but just kind of try to figure out, like, is there a weird scent, or how thick is the dust?
I'm going to be someone has to roll your wits plus investigation. As you move through the room, as if you are the living embodiment of Sherlock Holmes, Inspector Clouseau, and Miss Marple all at once, you gauge that the dust has been here for quite some time, easily longer than the last few years. The strips of claw marks against the wall, clearly from fingernails as someone railed. The damage to the bed clearly having been done in a actual fit of full-on grief-stricken rage. You slide things away. You look at the glass, you look through the drawers, and you find pictures shredded, torn to shreds. Nothing more than the biggest, most legible piece being a scrawled, barely legible name written in crayon. Michelle. You find broken doll pieces, toys destroyed, a Coleco toddler cell phone beaten and broken. Not that you pay too much attention to modern trends, to human trends, but you know that you hadn't seen a toy like that in at least 9, maybe 10 years.
Okay, so she's definitely going to file that away in her brain as to something to discuss later with the rest of the group. I really don't have time. I mean, part of me is like so curious if I switch into Cynthia and theme with this weird eye thing going on, what would I see? But I know I need to meet them downstairs, so I'm gonna ignore that curiosity and head for the stairs.
So you gotta look around. So you're gonna move from room to room to find the stairs, the hallway out into the stairs. The only problem with not having reconnoitered the place from inside or found the floor plan is that you are, in fact, at the whim of best guess and best choice. Because the upstairs is not laid out in the same central hallway as the downstairs. And while not expansively large, it is larger than what the average home. This is, after all, Arlington Heights, and while they are not as rich as they believe they are, they can do everything they can to seem that way. The homes are larger than they need to be. The rooms are brighter, filled with more things, the accumulation of the appearance of wealth. And in the skulking and stalking of the upstairs space, you find signs of other children. But most glaringly, there is a shrine. There's a dark-haired, freshman year looking girl with prayer card sitting there. There's a votive candle burned repeatedly, replaced and burned, the wax built up in front of it, clearly denoting that this has been lit a multiplicity of times and replaced a multiplicity of times. The overwhelming understanding of the environment that you are in is that this is a shrine to the fallen. This is a memorial to some person who has met their end. It is hard to not see that for what it is. That this entire space is unlived, unloved. It takes a few minutes, but back downstairs, you hear the creaking of the wood above you, and as you all move from room to room, there's a guest room that you find yourself in, and there's a futon that looks as if it's been slept in repeatedly, as if there is in fact someone's bed. The covers even now have been unmade. There's leftover bits of snack food around the floor, and there are 4 different laptops running an encoded cipher across their screen. There's the discarded used razors, the disposable Bics, and a mountain of drunken energy drink cans. If you didn't know any better, you'd say that you were in a college student's room their first year away from their family. But there's something else, something pervasive about this space. It's not a child's mess. This is not a absent of just how disgusting it looks. This is a uncaring as to how disgusting it looks. The snack food, the sort of thing you'd find in the garbage bins at your local LA Fitness or Planet Fitness or any one of the 24-hour gym locations. There are power bars and Cliff bars and healthy pseudo alternatives, and the fact that the energy drinks that you find are all thermogenic or the sort you'd find at a GNC. No less disturbing in their mess, but the sort of things that an adult in the grips of depression with an eye toward, I'm going to do better, I'll start eating better, is what presents itself in the mess. Ennis has just suddenly there in the door, having moved silently down the stairs and towards the sound of scuttling. You all are in the guest room. There are 2 other doors out of this room into the remainder of the house. What do you all do?
As we're moving here, Sophia's going to use her oblivion power of where the shroud thins to, first of all, to see how effective her powers would be here, but mostly because the spirits said they couldn't enter the house, so to try to discern why that is.
And you used your willpower to make sure that you have enough successes. Knowledge is a dangerous thing. A little knowledge goes a long way. A little knowledge makes you a danger to the world around you and to your potential future. As you all enter into the guest room and your senses adjust to seeing both the shadowlands and the skinlands you inhabit, as well as that veiled middle portion where the 2 overlap, the world, unlike its usual presentation to you when peering into the shadowlands, it is not grayed out and colorless. It is not deeper and ever deepening shades of darkness. It's not an umbral feel to it. It is bright. It is almost technicolor bright. The colors moving and bleeding from one item to the next. The world taking on an almost frenetically cartoon aspect. The brightness and the swirling mass of colors can only be one thing. There is only one feeling, one emotion given life, being fed to the spirits therein, that could cause this mania, this psychopathy to present itself. There's a portion, there's a heat that is so searingly bright that it causes a chill to run up and down the skin where it ruins things. The same thing happens with grief and depression. It drains the color from the real world, and the spirits that inhabit the space are able to feed on it, growing in strength, growing to the point where they can, if unchecked, manifest themselves. They can use that energy. They can feed on that energy, glutting themselves until all the color lost to the world, to the skin lands, invade and inhabit the Shadowland version of itself. Now, because of the negativity of those emotions, those dark, grieving, depressive emotions, the spirits that inhabit such things, having grown in strength, usually peter out when they're deprived of their source, when the person comes out of their depression, when the person moves past their grief. So it's usually a short-lived thing, and the spirits and entities that sup on such things, it rarely gets strong enough to manifest for long, rarely get strong enough to carve their own domain. But in certain cases, in certain places, and as you entered the guest room and you see all of this, you realize that you, by seeing all of this, can in fact be seen yourself. And as the 11-foot tall, petite, blue-eyed, blonde-haired cheerleader dressed in a half Catholic schoolgirl uniform manifests, its skin leaking and bleeding, cosmetics, its voice, a tee, but deep and bass-filled enough that it echoes off the walls. You realize that as you see it, it sees you. And while you can see it, your associates, your impromptu coterie, and Silvio cannot. Because it stalks closer, its nose moving of its own accord, taking in your scent, and it crouches just enough to put its nose nearly touching yours, staring into what you are. And while that's happening, Lucio, taking a look around the room, what first presents itself to you?
I just realized I was away from the mic. Lucio is looking mainly for any signs of life. And by life, I mean redwood and where he might be. Anything indicating where he would be located in the house. So he's trying to look for things like, well, if there's enough dust, maybe footprints. But if that's not a reasonable option, then things like scraps of food to see like where he's frequently spends his time, maybe documents or journals, or better yet, his computer setup, because
the 3 laptops. Would you be so kind as go ahead and roll your Witch Plus investigation? You have a +1. Your DC is only a 3, but you may find more information. You may glean more details with that area of focus in your searches.
Wits and investigation +1?
Yes, sir.
Are you sure you wish to give me this much power?
Oh, yes. Don't forget the caveat of a little knowledge still holds true. There are some things that humans cannot hide. Where they sleep without effort, where they eat without effort, and where they love without effort. Certain truths are inalienably visible. And it is clear that this is the hub of Paul Sterry. This is the hub of Redwood. And it is clear that Paul Sterry, the owner and chief operating officer of Neversoft, is in fact Redwood. And Redwood, the hunter, as you peering from a distance at the laptops and tracking their cables, realize that those cables lead into the register for the central HVAC unit, for the central plenum. It leads into the register, leading downstairs into the basement. But more importantly, the laptops, because they don't crit or change or respond to your presence, you know they are shielded somehow, which is an impossibility, or at least it should be. But the fact that they are shielded somehow from the mystical, from the magical, from the supernal, and their code work is still being tabulated, and the data cables leading from them lead down into the register. This man is insane. Insane as only those who have had brushes with the supernatural can be. You see the small worked, carved scratches along the side of the table where the laptops are on. You see those same carved, scratched in facets along the wood of the door frame. You see them, and they're not in plain sight. They're not right out. They're right along the edges. You wouldn't have noticed, but you were feeling for a hidden key or a dustwork to see how long this person. No, they're there on the edge of the door jamb, just out of sight. You wouldn't know that they were there if you didn't run your fingers along them. But those scratched in sigils clearly mean something. There's an obvious bent towards some code, some secret language therein. And most glaringly, just from simple cipher substitution, you know that the same message is being spoken over and over and over again, like a mantra or a prayer or a combination of the two, as if there was some script. And then out of the blue, or relative blue, you think back to something that Alex said about magic to Clyde. The way they keep talking is like magic is like universal code, like a secret language that only like computer people know, or in this case, magic people know.
Holy fuck. Okay, actually, I have two quick questions. Number one, do these sigils bear any resemblance to what we saw in the house that collapsed, the one that Lucio and the coterie was investigating with Critias, where we saw the
Yes.
part of the blood trade?
Yes. It's like comparing Chinese to Japanese. They use a similar kanji, especially because the Japanese stole a good portion, well, borrowed a good portion of their alphabet from the Chinese, but they are in fact two different languages. The kanji are in fact different, but similar enough that you could guess that they sprang from the same place.
Second question. Lucio does have a dot in occult. Would he have any inkling as to what these sigils might be? Not necessarily what they mean, but maybe like the language they're from or their origin.
Quick question. Have you ever seen Hestia prepare for her spell work when she's gathering her sigils and symbols and the like?
That's a good question. I don't think Lucio's been present for... Actually, no, wait. she did do a blood ritual with him there to do the to find out his clan once.
This is that, but clearly mistranslated, or maybe a slight derivation on that. One of the things that Hestia did that she fell out of practice with was creating a circle of protection around where she was working her spells. This is similar to that. And Hestia, as you're standing in her door and watching this investigation and watching Sophia seemingly frozen staring into the middle space, what is it that you're doing?
As somebody who has dealt with things that are there that nobody else can see, I already know that look that's on Sophia's face. And I also know I don't want to know what the fuck it is. So I am not going to go poking at that. But watching Lucio, I see where he's sticking as far as his eyes go. And I go over and look at the sigils myself. But again, while I'm doing this, I'm remaining as quiet as the spider thing will let me. And I'm also getting used to the senses, the way the spider works. And I'm going to use that to feel for like air currents in the space, trying to find a way down into the basement.
Well, from this room, the only way down into the basement would be through the register, where all of those cords are tucked into and moving down. And the 3 laptops sitting there, still running their code, still running whatever program and cipher that they're running. Those cords, unlike your usual phone cords, thick width, these bad boys are huge comparatively. Whereas the normal phone cord is a flat little 3 millimeter thick piece of plastic with wired innards. This is easily twice that and almost completely square. Do you have technology? Well, a higher technology. 2, 3 dots.
No, I only have 1 dot in technology because she's more science-based than tech.
Well, there is an understanding that the larger the wire, the more power. A similar principle. The larger the wire, the more light if you're dealing with fiber optics. And these are nearly perfectly square, massive cords feeding from these laptops, feeding into a central hub down into the register, leading down into the basement. As you're ciphering that and breaking or attempting to break the code of whatever these sigils, these bastardized sigils are, Sophia, it's staring at you. It is absorbing your scent, and not the scent that you carry on your body, but the scent of your spiritual essence. And the thing that most people don't really grasp about the dead, or those things that were never alive, they are jealous of the living. They are jealous of the skinlands. There is a natural enmity that exists. It's an act of divine grace that those beings, those things, don't have the strength to interact with the skinlands, at least not directly. Those that do tend to always be malicious. Those that do tend to always be predators. And the fact that this being, this thing, has taken such a ludicrously out of place visage and has fed on the darkest, deepest well of grief imaginable for such a very long time. It is echelons of exponential echelons above the standard, if there was ever such a thing, potential poltergeist. The kaleidoscopic swirl of its eyes lets you know that it is mad with the stuff, the essence of the grief that it has drunk for years. This level of a manifestation, this level of a being is so destroyingly powerful, and it seems to be focusing on you.
Well, having dealt with all manner of nasty things in her existence, she will attempt to stand her ground and lock eyes with it and kind of take its measure as well. And say, I am not here for you, but perhaps we can help each other.
You're a bold one.
You have no idea what I am, but again, perhaps we can help each other and I can be on my way and you can be about your business, yes?
Here.
Here what, exactly?
Why are you here? T.
I am here for him. You know who I speak.
You're here for. You want to make him better. T.
No, I want to make him much worse, actually.
Oh, you're gonna strengthen things. T.
Like I said, perhaps we can help each other.
What are you proposing? T.
You provide me with a little information, and I do what I'm here to do, and I go on my way.
Information, you do what you came to do. T. What information? T.
Is he here? Is he alone? Where is he?
You asked your question. You didn't get an agreement. T. Are you sure you want to keep going? T.
Like I said, we can help each other or we cannot.
What are you offering? What are you trading? T. You smell like death. I don't need death. T.
I am offering that I have come here to do what I am going to do, and that you do not need to be involved. If you wish to assist, that is fine. If not, then we have nothing more to speak of. It does, however, seem that my intentions are to your benefit, yes?
Benefit, maybe. T. How about the little one? T.
Which little one?
And a baby's arm grows from her shoulder and she points toward Hestia. T.
She is her own person. I am not bargaining with her, if that is what you're asking.
Okay. One of them. T. And even without having to delve into your training, to your experience, you realize what's being done. It's minimizing your choices for what you can barter with. If you don't offer a counter offer or cancel the bargaining, it will continue bartering until the only thing available is you.
What I will offer is this. Either what happens to him will increase his suffering 1,000-fold for you to feed on, or he will be ushered to your side where you may do with him as you wish. My companions and myself are not on the bargaining table, by any means.
Excellent. Would you be so kind as to go ahead and roll your manipulation and either persuasion or politics? And you get to add 1 for your knowledge of Oblivion. And you can tell it's considering how difficult it would be to consume you and your friends in no particular order. Okay. T. Trade accepted. Deal agreed to. You make his life worse. T. He's not alone. He's got a really happy, focused sort of person. But even in the company of other living, he's always alone. T. Not like the other ones he kept. The hunters. T. He's in the basement. T. Now go. And then she looks towards Silvio. Oh, he's in pain. T.
Sometimes more than others, yes, but he is also not for offer. However, the companion of the man, you may do with as you wish as well. I have no interest in him.
T. Accepted. And then she freezes, staring at Lucio. Oh, death. T.
Again, not for bargain, but yes, he touches death.
And it moves closer, its sinews popping and vibrating as it slides past you. There have been several times in your existence where you've been passed or brushed by great predatory beasts of this side of the veil and the other. And that warmth that comes from the living, that sense of outright danger, even as undead as you are, is what wafts off of it as it crawls across the floor towards Lucio. And it's inhaling his scent.
You would both do best to not adjust your senses to what I can see. However, the specter I have dealt with tells me he is in the basement, but he is not alone. He has one with him.
That's probably Dizzy's brother.
Perhaps. We will see.
Quite dizzy indeed. Head full of numbers, heart full of love. Disgusting and odious. T.
Is
All right, Honorius.
just the suicide?
What was that?
Is Hestia just hearing Sophia's side of the conversation?
Yes.
But
Unless, of course, she lets you broaden her range of perception.
No, like I said, based on the things that are being said, again, I've had that conversation with Forcipulis or something similar, so I can pretty much guess what's being said. Hestia looks at Lucio. So basically, one of two things can happen. We can cut the cords to the basement, and have him come up here to figure out what the fuck's wrong. Or I could probably go down the register and trace the cord, and you guys go through the stairs and we surround him again.
I like that second option better. I might be a little selfish, but I kind of want to keep this tech intact. It seems useful.
Okay. How easy would it be to get the register open?
Opening it? Not a problem. You can just look that right up. It is an older house. Luxurious, yes, but still an older house. The question is, and here's the thing that you may not quite have understood. The register, for while the opening is large enough for you to squeeze into, so with no small bit of contortion, the vent, the run is ductwork, which is smaller than the size of your head in total circumference. So there is that. It's not a commercial sized venting and ductwork.
Okay, because yeah, I think she would, having lived as long as she had, she would understand some of that. Yes, I guess they're just gonna have to find the basement door and do what they do.
Silvio rolls his shoulder and looks as if he's seen this show 100 different times, looking from the three of you all and around the room. So, how important is this tech to you, buddy boy?
It's more of a, it would be nice if we could use it for ourselves later.
Okay. And he nods to Sophia, then looks around the room. So this guy was holed up here this whole time, and those cords run down there. What do you think is down there?
More computers?
Yeah, and whatever Sophia was talking to says he's in the basement.
I had just imagined it would be the, what do you call it, the data frame base thing?
Oh yeah, like one of them servers we were talking about with the blades that slide in, and so this is the access out, the port out. But if he's monitoring the phone you guys sent on the wild goose chase, okay.
I think we are burning daylight, as it were. We should be about this.
Sylvia, do you think we should cut these cords? Because if not, we should just head to the basement now.
I don't think you should touch those cords if he's monitoring the outside world. With these sitting up here, whatever that is, that's his way out. And I couldn't help it over here, but did you say like this guy's a data mining or red teaming or whatever it is that they do? So he's a tech guy. So I'm sure those are secure. And he's probably down there in his boxes, one hand below the waistband, watching the phone go out of the area. Right? That sounds good to you? Sounds accurate?
Sounds accurate to me.
Maybe you guys should go down and put a cap at his knee or voice so we can get out of here.
Then let's go. And Lucio's going to try and find the basement door now.
Finding the basement door isn't all that hard from the first floor. Most homes of this style will have that 2 ways down, and typically 2 or more ways up to the second story. Just by process of elimination of the rooms that you guys pass, you end up guessing that it is through the kitchen. And when you get there, there's no stairs, there's no doorway leading down. However, there is an empty island in the center of the kitchen. The stove looks a mess, the sort of thing that gets more than its fair share of use, but there is no cleaning being done. There's built up oil and caked on food and skillets that have been multiple used for different portions of a meal. There's pots with a series of rings where the water has been boiled and boiled out without being washed. There is a pile of garbage bags piled one atop the next that should have been out several dozens of weeks ago, and the scent of spoiling food and mildewing leftovers are issuing from the bags. The back door has one of those magnet curtain rods that is divested of a curtain. The window fogged over and slobbered on from the outside as well as inside. The backyard bearing large holes roughly the size of a full-grown man's torso in various places, like a dog or series of dogs have decided to bury and unbury several dozen scores of bones. And there's no way that this place has entertained a person or a cognizant, functioning member of society in a very long time. The refrigerator has magnets on it, the alphabet sort, that are usually used to hang school projects and report cards and the like. The only thing there is a prayer card from a Michelle Sterry's funeral. There's a psalm on one side and a picture of a brunette girl, roughly in her early 20s to late teens, smiling towards the camera like you would in a prom picture. There, for those of you that look inside the refrigerator, there are several different bags from Grubhub and DoorDash with various leftover foodstuffs inside them, some clearly dating back several years since its launch here in the Midwest. The floor looked like it hasn't been mopped ever, but the pattern of the tiles lets you know that it is an expensive fall marble.
Hestia being as quiet as she can because she has a feeling this is where things are going to happen. Like, leaning close to Lucille and Sophia, she points out the prayer card. His daughter. She whispers, his daughter died. The kid's room upstairs is destroyed but covered in dust. I think it's her. There was papers that said Michelle on it and they were shredded. I don't think he's all there. So even though he's just human, we assume, and he's just a tech person, you should still be a little cautious. Because who knows what somebody who has nothing else to lose is willing to do. Just that.
And one of us took her from him. That's why he hunts us now. It's a very stereotypical story for these times.
Is everyone armed?
See, I know Lisa's being serious, but something about that just strikes her funny with the whole spider thing.
I am not, but I'm sure Silvio is. I forgot to ask him to get what did you call it? The sissy gun out of the trunk?
Hey, we don't use that language in front of company, but yeah, it definitely is a holdout piece. What? And he pauses as he looks out the back window. Huh. So there were only 2 dogs, right?
We only saw 2 dogs.
Good to know. And he turns back to, let's find these stairs downstairs. And as Hesha mentions what she mentions, and Sophia draws the correlation and begins telling the story, it smacks you right in the face, Lucio. You stare at the picture, the young college girl, full of life and vibrant. How one domino leads to the next. How this person dedicated themselves to finding out as much as they could about kindred and use there and why things work together and blended one into the next. Each step down this path and details of the information that you received from Novak and the federal agents who were hiding their information, and they're looking for their daughter. Yes, it does, but it's clearly something subsuming that correlation.
So more a manifestation than not her, right?
Yes. And as things coalesce and you all are staring or moving around the kitchen, Lucio puts the prayer card back on the refrigerator with the magnet and moves to the center aisle, the center countertop. There are no stairs down, and that's an impossibility based on what you can see from the back porch. The deck that's there, the fact that you know that there's a basement. None of the cabinets open into a closed off stairwell leading down. You focus on the center countertop. And you're not sure why, but you decide to give it a push. In your head, you're saying over and over, please be a secret lever, please be a secret lever, please be a secret lever. And while it's not a lever, it does slide, revealing that the end door that you all couldn't open does in fact open into a stairway down.
Lucio starts going down.
Now, order in this case is very, very important. Silvio, of course, is going to insist on bringing up the rear because, well, you can shoot and fire over people's heads if push comes to shove. But he also wants to make sure that your back is as covered as much as possible because, well, yeah, what he witnessed in the yard is enough to make sure that he wants to have a clear line of exit. So, second to Lucio, who enters.
Well, Sophia will stay near Silvio because while these people seem nice and all, she knows 100% that Silvio will die for her, so...
Alright, so... Lucio?
Hester's going to take this joint. Hester's going to go down the stairs, but on the ceiling.
Okay. There's something visually dissonant about watching that happen. Her skittering and scuttling across the ceiling. And while you're sure that she is silent, or at least only barely audible, you can hear the scritch of something as she moves across the ceiling. There's that moment that most people have when you're trying to be quiet in a house full of people at night when everyone should be sleeping already, and you unfortunately can't fight the urge to snack. So you're moving as quietly and stealthily as possible, and every sound seems 100-fold louder than it actually is. As you all make your way down the steps, with Silvio ensuring that the door doesn't close automatically behind you all, you hear a muffled and a click clack of fingers across a keyboard, and a less than silent tittering. And then you hear a robotic voice. Listen here, buddy boy. Be quiet. Be real quiet. And you might get out of this alive. And then the removal of the voice modulator, the voice changer, and tittering, and more click clack of keys. Lucio, to set the pace, as it were, would you be so kind as to roll your dexterity stealth -1?
If I say that I'm using Silence of Death, would that affect anything?
Yes, it definitely affects sound.
Okay.
But just to set the pace for the group, is because you're in the lead. So while you are completely and totally silent, what does the group sound like exiting the stairwell?
You said -1?
Yes, sir.
I apologize in advance, everyone.
So you all are past the halfway point. Lucio, you don't really have to worry about it, so you're pretty much trailing down the center of the stair. Hestia is across the ceiling, moving very insect-like, disturbingly so, causing the hairs to stand up on your forearm and at the back of your neck. Your nape is awash in hair, standing at full attention, and you silently move across the concrete floor of the basement. The ceiling, unlike your standard American basement, is not 8 feet from the concrete. It is actually a full 12. The pipework and wires above your head, blending one into the next into the rafters, some going through knot holes, others being carelessly and slapdash stapled. And there's 100 different wires coming from between the brickwork from out in the world, clearly having been run across different people's lawns from the poles, and there's all of these different almost fiber optic sized wires moving towards a central tower, which is behind the slapdash thrown together desktop that Paul Sterry is actually working on. Redwood lives. He's dressed in a 2-piece suit, which has seen significantly better days, as it's clear that he not only wears it but sleeps in it from time to time. And that time being each night, day that he passes out to the next day that he passes out. The scent of unwashed human sweat is apparent. His hair slicked to his forehead and across the back of his head. His glasses reflect the light from the screens lit around him, and it is a half horseshoe of screens, roughly 7 wide, thin screens, each being operated from a central keyboard, which has been plugged together and molded with several others. So there's this long space bar example of keyboards connected one to the next, with one central mouse the size of the Power Glove from the old Nintendo system. And in his hand is a box cutter. Between you and Paul and his computers is a Dizzy, if there ever was a Dizzy. You all recognize the almost platinum blonde hair, but this is done from natural aging. The the 2 ties used as blindfolds across his face, and the wired up underwear shoved in his mouth You're not sure what all is holding him to the chair, but you can see duct tape and bungee cords and extension cords. And is that an actual belt holding his other leg to the chair leg? And you hear Paul, I was wondering when you guys would show up. And he clicks something on the mouse on the impromptu table slapdash put together from IKEA without all of the correct parts that his computer is resting on. And you see the buttonhole cameras that he has about the place. And you see them flickering and coming in and going off almost in rapid succession as something moves across them, something that's there but invisible to the visual spectrum of the camera. Specifically in the impromptu office you all were in upstairs. Every time Lucio moves into frame, based on your memory of how you guys moved through the house, you watch as the cameras flicker and struggle to maintain clarity. But immediately as Lucio moves past, and you see Sophia and Silvio, and you see Hestia upstairs, and you see you all walking down the stairs with Hestia skittering up out of view of the camera, moving past it. And as she actually enters back into the visual field across the top of the ceiling, it's so much of, are you fucking serious? He has every corner bugged with buttonhole cameras. He has several different places across the neighborhood with buttonhole cameras. He has several different buildings and places where you know for a fact Kindred operate. And like the supervillain that he imagines himself to be, he turns in the rolling chair, the wheels squeaking noisily, causing your teeth to sit on edge as he lies behind Dizzy's brother, wrapping his left hand and arm around the shoulder, almost as if it's a hug. And the right falls into place with the box cutter against the man's neck. Now that you all don't play fairly, I guess we're gonna have to kill this guy.
Lucio is immediately going to activate Arms of Araman, and he's going to pull him. He's going to try and pull, like, basically. Is he still in the chair? Because if he is, he's going to pull the entire chair over to him. And then basically grab him by the throat out of the chair.
Sophia will reply, I guess so, and then in Italian to Silvio will say, just to wound, not to kill.
And as you're watching this happen,
Dizzy's brother is blindfolded, right?
yes,
Hestia is going to drop down from the ceiling onto the bed so that she's like right in front of Paul until he gets yanked away, because she's assuming she sees the Arms of Araman thing happening. So kind of as a body block, protecting the hostage with her body.
several things happen as they always do in these situations when forces are aligned. There's the old adage that forces remain in the state that they are in unless, of course, acted on by other forces. And the state that Paul is in is a state of grief magnified. The state that Dizzy's brother in is fear magnified, but not for his own being, for his mother, for his sister. And the state that the coterie is in is one of, this guy needs a lesson. There's no excuse. There's no pain worth enough to put all of these lives at risk. And as you all leap into action, moving with the drive of your focus and will, there's some things that seem almost anticlimactic. until you take us half a step back. He's been watching you all since you entered. He has had the time from your arrival inside his home until now. And as the number of things and potential ills that could have been wreaked or enacted settle in at the base of your minds, he's had all of that time alone with all the information at his disposal. And as the arms yank him away and Silvio pops his knee with a well-placed shot, that truth, as he screams and yowls, becomes apparent. And with that understanding, it is 21 after the hour. I'll see you guys back here at 31. We'll take a quick 10 minutes and we'll be right back. All right, folks, how we doing? Everybody back?
Yep.
Present.
Yep.
Excellent. And when we stepped away, Lucio had Paul drug forward by several tendrils of shadow given physical form. Silvio had popped a bullet directly into his knee, and Hestia was protecting the elder Dizzy from the harm inherent in the doing. Everyone moving and plans in motion. A troubling thought, a troubling bit of paranoia slipped into everyone's understanding. Being aware that they were in his home for as long as he potentially could have been aware they were in his home. There's no telling nor any understanding as to the scope of electronic trouble he could have gotten up to. So what do?
Lucio grabs him by the throat, and if he's strong enough, we'll try and lift him off his feet. Or off the chair. And off his feet.
That is easier. That is easier done than said. Paul has lived a life of absence for a very long time. So while he is in fact 6 feet tall, he is considerably lighter than one would expect. He is roughly 157 pounds. he is bordering on the frail. Though, as Lucio grabs him amidst the screaming and crying, there is a corded, dehydrated strength there. The wiry muscles of his frame are clear. So while he has subsisted on as little as possible, as only the mad can, it's clear that he's gotten some level of physical activity. And as his hands wrap around Lucio's wrist, holding him, the box cutter falling away and yowling in pain, Silvio begins looking around the room, inspecting the dark corners, while Hestia stands in front of Fiel and Dizzy. What is it that Lucio and Sophia are doing?
You, my friend, have been...
We're not friends!
Shut the fuck up.
Not too quickly. He needs to suffer. I made a promise.
What did you do while we were up there?
What did I do? What did you do? What did your kind do? And as his yowling subsides, it is clear that in the madness in his eyes, beneath those blue light reflecting glasses, that there is something else afoot.
Now that I see that older Dizzy is not in any particular danger right just yet, because the box cutter and all that other stuff, do I know whether the glasses he's wearing would affect how me trying to compel him would work, or am I just going to try?
If he can catch his gaze, what would glasses do? Not like they're sunglasses.
That's what I'm saying, like, because I know they're light blocking certain spectrums of light, so I don't know how compel gaze works. It's magic, so I don't know if the glasses work or not. If not, then no, I'm gonna try to catch his eyes, and since he's unsuspecting, it should automatically work.
Okay. What are you attempting to compel and to do?
I'm compelling him to stop the information from leaving the house.
So moving across the floor with a determination in mind, summoning forth the might of your blood, you reach forward with all the efforts, strengths of your mind into his eyes. You lock gazes with him. And as you issue your command, the weight of your being bearing down like a hammer blow, he begins laughing.
So I take that to mean that he's already sent it.
You... I can't even say people. You monsters. You have no idea. Not stupid. Wouldn't keep anything here. You violated my home. You took everything from me.
You violated my home.
You're a dead thing. You don't deserve a home.
You're a living thing, or about to be not living thing. You deserve nothing.
Okay, so now that we figured out that he has not kept the information here, this one I'm gonna, I guess, ask the question to the rest of the group. Where do we, like, what do you think we should do next? Like, do we want to try to find out where that information would have come from? Like, where's the kill switch? Is there any way to stop it? Like, what do we need to find out? Because I can try compelling him again.
All that. And Lucio is going to look at Paul and he's going to say, there's one of two ways this can go. Option 1, less painful. Option 2, incredibly painful. Tell us where the information is and how to stop it from getting out.
You're still counting this to go ahead and roll manipulation plus intimidation.
Lucio will spend a point of willpower. He's gonna really try and turn up the fear factor.
Well now.
A point well spent.
As Lucio applies a little more pressure and the blood from his knee, the remnants of his knee begin soaking the ground, dribbling over over Lucio's pants. And as she's standing there, her eyes locked on his, the many bifurcated and dissected the bisected bits of her eye, forming their own individual eyes. And Silvio checking the dark corners of the room. He looks towards the many wires running into the home, running into the space. And he looks at the elders in Dizzy, who, even blindfolded, seems to be turning an ear towards where they are. And Silvio looks to Sophia and head nods toward the older Dizzy. And in that exchange, Derry breaks. The silence, the menace of Lucio's voice, and the time to consider. Okay. I'm clearly not cut out for this. My run of success is clearly over. What do you really want to know?
I want to know if you sent this information to anyone else about what we are.
You don't get it. Your time as top of the dung heap is over. We already know the information is out there to be had. We hunters of you undead fools, you monsters, we're coming for you. What I collected here in the servers bouncing around the world, you'll never stop it. You can never catch it. I can't even catch it. When you entered my home, I hit the emergency button. All of my access is gone. It's has always been out there in the world. We did a test run due to a member of our nation of hunters. And we released it, a trial run. Somehow you all stopped it. But it gave us an understanding as how you all operate, the sources you control. And so we did better. We created pathways of information that anyone who's curious enough, lucky enough, smart enough, connected with the right people will have access almost instantaneously. It's a worm. It's a Trojan. It is the truth. And it's out there to be gained, obtained, accessed, free of your little network of control. And there's nothing you do to stop it. So kill me like you killed my daughter.
If I may, she says, looking to the other two.
What do you plan to do?
She walks forward, drags her finger through the remainder of what is his knee and licks the blood off her fingers. And doesn't lock gazes with him in a dominate sort of way, but looks into his eyes and says, "So you are mad that we took her from you, or one of ours took her from you, yes?"
Oh, why would I care about that? Yes, of course. That was a catalyst. Then you all covered it up. Then you all made it so that her life didn't mean diddly to anyone. Her death swept under the rug and disappeared. What you did was destroy my family and all hope. In killing her memory, killed her twice.
Well, let me tell you what's going to occur now. Because she has passed on from this world does not mean she does not exist in the next world. And I guarantee you that I already know there are things in this house that tie her to this one. If you do not do what you can to help my comrades and undo what it is you have done here to the best of your ability, I promise you that I will withdraw into the deepest, darkest hole where your friends can never find me, and she will be tormented every day for as long as I exist.
All right, that being the case, the basic plan is to go ahead and roll your charisma and intimidation -1. Because as you say so, and the threat is palpable, feel it. You guys can't do magic. That's what's kept you away from here before. You don't have connection with real magic. You can't. Don't lie to me.
Did you not see what just pulled you over here? And Lucio is going to have one of the arms brush up against his face.
I am lying. You are so certain. I will tell her when she screams that it is her father's fault that she suffers such torment.
You can control this world. We understand that. We know you have the power here, but not for long. We're not done fighting. Will we undo years?
You do not know as much as you think you do. The choice is yours. Do what you can, or I will do what I can.
Okay. Help me to that panel right there. Not the main electric panel, but the little box next to it.
Does it seem like he's trying to trick us?
We're just gonna go ahead and roll your wits and insight. Oh yeah. He's given up. But he's not giving up. That resigned determination.
He's playing too many games. We'll take him to the council and they'll get the information out of him. He already said it's out in the world, it can't be taken back. So there's no point.
Sophia will, still locking eyes with him, chuckle and with a fangy little malicious smile pat him on the cheek and go, "Well, I've made a promise."
But after saying that, again, she's not the type to torture anybody, but she wants to get closer to Paul so that he can see the eyes, the spider eyes. And she's going to purposely bend her arm in a way that it shouldn't be.
I said I help me to the help me to the panel. This will all be over.
What will you do? Explain.
The panel is. I can't stop the information. I really can't. It's out there. I can reverse engineer a Trojan so that once information's accessed, you could potentially track down who's accessing.
And what guarantee do I have that you're not lying to me?
The same guarantee that you've always had. You guys are clearly more than we expected. Maybe you are the next evolution. I don't know. I don't know.
You change your tune so quickly, I'm a bit suspect.
Okay, fine. Then you go to the panel. There's a switch inside that you need to engage so that I can use my server to reach out into the world and have access. We're in a closed system. There's one way in and one way out. And I hardwired it so that if anybody got here, they couldn't access my system, even if they were able to crack my log on. It's a 24 key password. Most people couldn't do it, but there are some that might be able to, and you can't brute force it. But even if you could, you can't get out. You don't have any ports to the wider world.
So you want us to believe that you have all these fail-safes and contingencies, but all we have to do to turn them off is flip a switch on the wall?
Well, it'll give me access, and I could start writing a code that I could send out that'll act as a Trojan and a locator that'll give you the GPS, the latitude and longitude for anybody who accesses the information. It's that switch right there. You could do it if you don't trust me to hobble over there. Flip the switch. You'll see yourself.
I think we've been here far too long. We need to get out of here. We need to take him and the Dizik and get the fuck out of here.
Maybe take him to the council, yes?
Can't you just compel him to tell us the truth?
Yeah. I can, but he's fucking mentally cracked. It's like trying to put a fucking egg back into the cell after you smashed it.
I just want this to be over. I'm not mentally cracked enough for that. If you fine, you don't want me to flip the switch, you flip the switch. help me back to my computer. One of you flip the switch, and you can stand over my shoulder. I don't want to meet whatever council you have. I don't want anything else. I thought I wanted this, but I clearly don't.
I am still suspect. I will leave the decision to the two of you. This is your matter, but I think it is best probably just to bring him in front of your Senate or your council or whatever you called it.
Maybe we can get G to help.
It seems that he... Go ahead.
Us not be here when that happens. Once we take him out of the house, they can come back and do whatever the fuck they need to do to the house, go over with the fine-tooth comb, whatever the fuck, but we need to get out. I have a feeling, I don't like it here. We need to,
This switch isn't time sensitive, is it?
Code's bouncing from cloud server to cloud server through server databases all around the world right now. We have a certain period of time before it leaves the Chicago area. And if it gets too far away, there's no way that a simple buried code will reach it. It'll take longer. It'll take more effort. It'll take more time than I'm sure you guys are going to grant me to do even that much. The longer we wait, the farther away it gets.
Well, then I hope for your sake you are very good at what you do.
As a boy, compromising, Hester takes out her phone, goes over to the screens and the whole setup and starts snapping pictures of the whole setup, everything that's on the screens, very carefully snapping a picture of the panel, not opening it, but snapping a picture of the panel. And then she sends it all to G. Okay, I sent it all to G. She can start working on something. We need to get out of here.
I would counsel an agreement. This is your win you needed, or at least half of your win. You bring him in, that is probably buy you some lenience.
Fine.
I knew you guys didn't have the heart to do it.
Oh, I assure you, I have no heart. What I promised will come to pass.
If you could have done it, you would have had her materialize in front of me. You can't. And Nash is not going to let you guys do it anyway. He's too much of a risk. He sent you here, didn't he? He's the reason why you all started looking into me, why you started investigating me, why you started trying to track down us hunters and burning our safe houses.
You probably should have not double-crossed him, huh?
Didn't double-cross the monster who killed my child. Are you stupid?
Hestia keeps a very straight face as that major clue gets absorbed, and it's like, oh, but no, it doesn't show on her face. She's just kind of like catching his eye again, she's going to go with a compel, and give him the order of, you're going to come with us quietly.
I don't want my neighbors to know that I associate with trash. Can we bandage my knee? I'm sure that, a healthy victim for your torture would work better.
I should have compelled them to shut the fuck up and not be able to speak, but whatever. She goes to get the duct tape that she assumes was used on the older Dizek and wraps his knee with the duct tape.
What do you want to do with the other one? He clearly knows too much now.
I can't see myself hurting him when this isn't his fault. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
And that is
really,
unfortunate.
Can't you fix his memory of this?
If you can
I
take it from him, that would be the kindest thing, but we cannot just leave him knowing what he knows. You know that.
I know, and we'll take him with us, and I will make him forget.
I am fine with that. I am just looking out for your masquerade.
In any case, Sophia, before we go, do you want to fulfill that promise you made?
Which promise? The promise I made to him, or the promise I made to the thing that feeds on him?
To him.
I planned on looking about. And in fact, actually, she says that she'll shift her senses to see if he's got anything down here.
Then she died 10 years ago. Her time was over. The traumatic way that she died, you all know is traumatic, bleeding out. But those who are victim to it die relatively peaceful, as long as it's not a savaging. You just get cold. You just get cold and your stomach feels empty. A headache begins to grow at the edges of your understanding. But it's not a normal headache. There's no localized place in your head where the pressure is more or less, but it's a lack of oxygen that's really taking over. You don't realize that's the case. You just get a little cold. Some people get hungry. She did. She was thinking about Reese's peanut butter cup at the time, her favorite little cheat snack. And as the music shifted in the background, the DJ moving to an up-tempo song, as the cold spread and she looked up at Walter's face, the lipstick that she was wearing smeared across his lips. She's not sure how it got there, considering he was just kissing all over her neck and giving her the most erotically charged fingering she's ever had. She knew that sneaking out to a club, even with her fake ID, could be a little risky. But she'd been here before and things always worked out. And she'd seen him come in and be treated like a king. And so one thing led to the next, and he was buying her drinks and he was keeping her friends entertained. Everyone was giving her the thumbs up. So when he suggested they find a little bit of quiet corner to talk, she didn't think anything of it. Then he was on her like a masher, like something out of the 1920s. His hands everywhere, his lips everywhere, his touch a little cooler than one would expect, probably from the fact he was holding that cold beer before they got here, before they got to this corner. Then when they were done making out, Walter was wiping the taste of her from his lips, smearing the makeup that she wasn't sure how he got there. Things started getting cold, and her lids got heavy. She thought at first maybe her drink had been spiked, but no. Walter hadn't been near her drink. Nobody else had been near her drink, and things just got cold. The last thing that she thought of was Reese's peanut butter cup. That would taste absolutely great, because even though she was sure they did not go all the way and that it was just heavy petting, she'd be putting into her journal when she got home that she had never experienced an orgasm as pure as making out with him. And then she just drifted off. She slipped from this world into her just desserts. Her business was done. She didn't even realize that she was dying, or that this would be the last thing that she saw, or the last thing that she heard. The music in the background shifting to Queen of the Damned soundtrack, the light strobing in the distance, the light hint of smoke and fog from the machines, making everything so soft-core romantic. And all the stories she would write when she got home. So yes, search though you might and find connections to several different spirits, several fetters keeping them here. Her passing was in fact peaceful. Her last moments were quizzical. She was plotting how she would make the entry, how she would make sure that her parents would never find out about her lustful night in the dark at the club. How it was a good idea to come to the smart bar after all.
I assume I don't actually know any of that, though.
Not the details. Knowing that a spirit crosses over into their just desserts peacefully. There's no connection for them. There's nothing holding them here, nothing tying them to the skinlands longer. In the absence of, in this place of torment, in this place of hell, you realize that that scent that you've all but blocked out is the last ebbs of kindred vitae. You realize that the reason why the house is as powerful as it is because of all the kindred lodge, those near humane kindred that have met their final ends here with business unfinished, with cries of pain on their lips. You know that for the last 10 years that Redwood and his fellow hunters have been active. They've been chasing their great white whale. They've been chasing what they believe was one of the master vampires, because he knows they're masters and slaves, greaters and lessers. And they've been tracking and trailing and building a company of repute that would grant them access to the millions of surveillance devices across the city, to the hundreds of thousands of cameras sponsored by the city and the various companies that operate within it, to put a net, a shield around the city to find that particular great white whale, and to have proof there were others far more monstrous for other families. They compiled as much data as they could. Then they branched out because some of the monsters were willing to betray the other monsters and work with them and provide data. Things went downhill. And here you guys are. Paul Sterry, his wound knee duct tape so that it holds together. And the elder Disick. Now you all know that there's room in the vehicle, but do you throw them in the passenger area of the car, or do you throw them in the trunk?
He's riding in the trunk.
Yeah, so I would vote he goes in the trunk. The other guy, maybe he can ride up front or something.
Do you remove the blindfolds and the harnesses on the elder Disick?
I would prefer not to, but I'm one voice, so.
We're going to take everything off except for his hand bindings and his blindfold because we don't want him to really be able to identify us. I want to be the last face he sees, the first and last face he sees, because he's going to forget us.
So with your gifts in tow, Silvio leading the way back up and out, ensuring that your path was as clear as you can make it. You take your gifts to the car, and you drive out of Arlington Heights heading southeast towards Chicago. The expressway is unseasonably light on traffic, and the drive back in quiet and filled with the realities of your world, the corners you all don't often visit or get a chance to see. And as one moment turns into the next, we end with the coterie standing before the city government, with Paul in tow. Hestia's eyes mostly returned back to normal. The pupils of her eyes still holding 2 or 3 smaller versions of itself all throughout her iris. Paul laughing and all but threatening the council. That touch of madness that allows him to speak the truth unbridledly coming to the fore. But as you all plead your case and make your statements as to why and whom and what, on the ride down, what do you all do with the elder Dizzy? Do you keep him in the car with Silvio? Do you leave him in the car by himself? What do you do with him?
Since he can hear, Hestia asks where he lives and tells him that they don't want to hurt him any further. They want to take him safely back to his home. And hopefully he will tell them where that is. If not, Lucio, should Florida know? Because of the time that Vivi and Arsenio, I guess, were talking about where he lives or where the brother lives. So I don't know. But one of those two things could get them back to his house so that we can make him forget.
Okay, so instead of going directly to the city government, you go to drop him off at home?
Yeah, because we don't want him even tied to this at all. I don't want them to find out that he was even part of it.
Okay, sounds like a plan. And do you have forget memory? Or cloud memory? Or forgetful mind?
Yeah, I have forgetful mind.
Okay, sounds like a plan. We will get that roll from you, which is your manipulation plus dominate. And while Hestia works the elder Dizzy's mind, is there any information that Sophia and
Way he was trying to blackmail Nash, but is it possible that there's someone in the government who was manipulating him to do this? I already know that from what Clyde told us that Ballard wanted to expose us once before. Is it possible he's involved in this too?
It is always possible. We seem to never learn from history.
Yes, 100% is possible that Ballard was involved. And Ballard being a media mogul, though not nearly as much of a mogul as he once was, in full control over the full press, full court media outlets, because there's so many independent media sources, came about the information secondhand and was choosing to use it as a weapon until the deal was made with Clyde to bury the information. He was not the originator of the information. He was not the original source. He had come across it secondhand and was attempting to broaden his reach as a way to discredit Jackson. You all stopped that from happening. And now, with the originating source well in hand, that ties his hand on that regard.
Does it also mean that it's possible that if we speak with Jackson, we can point out the whole Ballard situation and maybe get him taken care of?
How would you prove it?
I don't think it's worth piling on. To be
Psycho, we
honest,
have
I
a
think we need
proof
to
enough,
focus
but
on proving this case, taking care of this, and then making sure that we're not staked, basically, and punished for everything else.
okay, fair, but they also have Clyde, who knows. Because Clyde was the one that made the deal with Ballard to squash it.
Are you guys having this discussion in character or out of character?
I believe it would be in character.
In character, once Hestia gets back in the car.
So then, I guess that'll happen later. So then, what I'm trying to discuss with Sophia is basically like, I'm just trying to like bounce ideas and just try and piece everything together.
Okay. Just okay.
Well, let me go from that angle then, I guess. She will ask, well, who do you think is involved?
Well, Nash is the victim of one of the blackmails. Ballard received this information secondhand, likely from Redwood here. Suppose we could always just ask him if there's any of us involved that are still around.
You could, but it seems he cannot be compelled to tell the truth or otherwise, so how would you trust what he says?
There is another way. It'll take a few nights, but we could blood bond him.
That is a possibility, but that is in itself is a dangerous game.
I suppose the final decision will be up to the council.
You could certainly insinuate that there is evidence to support the basis for such a claim, even though it does not directly point to anyone, and you would either gain an ally in your silence or create an enemy, but you would not know which it was until it was too late.
Maybe I'm just being too paranoid and just trying to find another enemy when there is none, now that we've caught this one.
I understand that you are young, so let me share with you that you can never be too paranoid, and there is always another enemy.
We've got like 3 others already.
She just kind of nods at that, I guess.
Am I back in the car yet?
Yes.
What did I walk in on, or like what part did I hear coming back into the car?
We've already got 3 others.
3 other what?
Enemies to deal with.
Given your reputation, if you only had 3, I would find that very impressive.
Well, if I'm actually keeping count, it's more probably around 7, maybe 8. Possibly
that's
9, depending on how many people are in the wolf pack.
And those are only the ones that you know about. I'm sure there are more.
Exactly. Hestia, we were also discussing ways we can get the truth out of Redwood without compelling him since he seems resistant. I'd mentioned blood bonding him, but that would take a while. And I'm wondering if it's just a moot point since the council's going to decide anyway.
Yeah, the council is going to decide, but you forget that there is a member of the council that probably, or more than one member of the council that can do blood sorcery and probably has access to a ritual we call Truth of the Blood.
Yes, actually, I did forget because I did not know such a ritual existed.
I'm sorry. Tremere usually keep our secrets close to the vest, but I trust you enough to know that you're not going to rat me out to do sobbles. Yeah, there's a way to taste the blood and get the truth out of it, or, find the truth in somebody's blood. So I'm pretty sure either Dusable or somebody else in the pantry can do it. I can't do that one. I can do other ones, but it's easy enough. So they can probably do that instead of blood bonding him, which is, like I said, why it's probably best we take him to the council.
I think that is your best option. Let those who are older and more versed decide, and use their tactics to get what they can out of them. You have done your part. You have brought him in and maintained what you could of the evidence.
Fair. My next question is Nash. He insinuated that Nash killed his child. We know that dealing with Melinda, that I have a very strong suspicion that the female they left in that back alley, Nash, also killed. He has been drinking them dry when he doesn't need to. I think he's addicted to killing, or doesn't give a shit about the humans he drinks from. But that could turn into a masquerade beach, because if he's just leaving bodies, sand, blood, people are going to start to fucking notice if they haven't already.
They have.
So I'm starting to see why they want his ass on a fucking silver platter.
Novak's already asked me to investigate this kind of stuff. They already noticed.
Yeah, I know they healed, but yeah, we have to talk to the council about whether they want us to handle him too. But they're probably going to want us to handle him too.
One thing at a time.
To be fair, it might not be his fault. As we get older, the blood does less for us. We need more and more of it to subsist. However, it being sloppy is his fault, so...
I would like to say I don't care that he's killing people. I still kind of care that he's killing people, but you're right. The thing that I am most angry about is the sloppiness. He's, like I said, just leaving bodies where they fall.
Does anyone feel like we're missing something? Or am I just being myself again?
You still have Vivi to deal with.
There's that. You still, you're like all Sherlock Holmes and stuff, and you know, eat shit where there probably nobody else is gonna see it. So I'm not saying you're being paranoid, but why borrow a problem? We are probably missing something. We're probably missing a lot of something. But right now, all we can deal with is what's in front of us, which is this. And then if we get out of this, we go hunt Vivi. And if we manage to catch her, then that's another get out of jail card for us. Hopefully we'll eventually get out of jail enough to not be in trouble at all.
When this is over, I want a vacation.
You know what? Normally I'd fight you on that because I don't want to leave the shelter, but I've been away from the shelter for like 2 nights now. So as long as it's not burned down, I can go down.
Honestly, a vacation at the shelter at this point would be nice. Or just not being hunted down, not dealing with politics and masquerade breaches, just doing something that I want to do rather than have to do.
Well, whatever you do not go to Florida. That place is a mess.
I never intended. I was never much for the heat anyway.
Yeah, way too fucking.
And with that small bit of banter, and with those exchanging of ideas, the coterie heads to meet with the government to prepare their statements and make a showing and accounting for all that's been leveled against them. But in the end, that's a story for another day. We close with the limousine filled, as it were, with emotions and thoughts, and a modicum of success that has come under the weight of such grief and despair as to be willing to burn the entirety of the city to the ground. Either literally or figuratively, hopefully both was the aim. But you all have the information, you have the trump card, and you're headed to make an accounting. And with that, we draw a close to season 11 of Soup City Sins. I want to thank you guys for the session, for the season, and all those that have come before. Good night, everybody.
Good night, everyone. We might not get killed.
Night all.
Hooray!